Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Another day, another project. So if you've been following along, this is part 2 of our office extreme declutter and renovation. So we built this house in 2020 and closed in 2021. And here we are almost exactly 2 years later. And this is the final room in the house that needs to be completed. So a little bit about our story. I'm not sure how much of this I've shared before because it's been a crazy couple of months and I don't really remember what I talked about. Life, right? Life happens like that. But anyways, so we bought our land here in Central Florida quite a few years ago, and then we worked on paying it off. And then once it was paid off in 2020, probably 2019 is when it was completely paid off. But once we completely paid off our land, we decided we were going to go ahead and build. And it was, of course, in the middle of the insane craziness that 2020 was. We got super lucky in that we managed to sign our contract in January before the entire world just exploded. So, house prices in Central Florida went absolutely bonkers in 2020, and our contract to build was on the land that we already owned, so the builder wasn't able to back out of it like builders were backing out of. We had several friends that were trying to buy builder grade homes, and their contracts ended up being canceled because the builders weren't going to make enough money on their home builds, so they canceled contracts and then went back to our friends and said, okay, if you pay $50,000 more, we'll build your house. But as it stands, they couldn't do that to us because we owned the land. So and we had already signed our contract, so they couldn't do anything about it. So our builder was super mad, and because they were super mad, they cut a ton of corners building our home. So we had this huge fight at closing with the builder about fixing all of the issues, and it ended up that we won and God provided, and it was fine. It all turned out fine. But when we moved in, we just had a ton of weariness, and I feel like this is probably true for anybody who has ever built a house ever or moved into a home ever. I just feel like the whole process was incredibly taxing, super wearying, and I don't ever want to do it again. And here we are, maybe facing a move. So it's like, okay, Lord, if this is what you're calling us to do, then you're going to have to open a bunch of doors because, excuse me, I cannot do this in my own strength. I absolutely cannot. But anyways, in order to get the house ready for appraisal and realtors to come in and see if a move is even feasible for us, I needed to finish this room because this room had just become like this huge storage dumping ground, and it had been driving me insane for really 2 years. But I was able to just close the door and, say, okay, that's a problem for a different day. Well, the different day was here. So we did an extreme declutter, and I have a video just prior to this one that shows the amount of stuff that was in this room. And so we emptied the room, and then we were finally able to finish it. So I am painting in this video. I'm filling the dents and the scrapes and stuff here with some spackle, and then I'm gonna texture it and I'm probably already sanding it. That's what I'm doing. I'm sanding the spackle that I filled into the little holes that were in the walls from I don't know, we probably banged stuff into them. And then I cleaned up the sanding mess with a tack cloth, and now I'm painting. And I know what you're thinking. It looks like the same color, and it kind of sort of is. So another huge problem with the builder was that they put the wrong color paint in. They put in Repose Gray, which is very popular right now, but that's not the color that we chose. So we chose Passive, which is more of a blue and less of a gray. So in certain lights, the Repose looks green and then looks gray. It has this kind of muddy quality to it, where passive will look blue, gray, and white. It's passive is more purple in the gray family, where repose is more green in the gray family. So in sunlight, you can't see a huge difference, but we also, so I noticed the difference right away. When we moved in, I knew it wasn't the right color. And when we had the builders come in, I had bought a can of passive and I painted it on the wall. And I said to the builder, hey, by the way, this is the color that we actually paid to have put on the walls. And they were like, oh, we'll do something about it. Well, they didn't. So I ended up having to get the correct paint to put on the walls, which ended up being a blessing because I was able to get a really good deal on paint. It took us a long time to get our paint. I want to say like 3 months or something in 2020, which is when we bought it, because there was a paint shortage. It was crazy. But anyways, I was able to get the no VOC highly washable, highly durable paint from Sherwin-Williams, and I got a really great discount on it since we had to wait so long. So it was like everything turned out to be a blessing in disguise. So I have a couple cans left over of this paint because I knew I needed to, I ordered enough paint to do the whole interior, even though I didn't think I was going to do the whole interior in this color, but just in case, I didn't want there to be a difference in like tone or quality or tint or anything like that. If I had to go back and order it, it would be a different lot mix. So I got enough to do the whole house. And so I have a couple extra cans left over. And it was a good thing that I ordered as much paint as I did. I figured I would have quite a bit overage and I could use it going into the future to do cover-ups and touch-ups and things like that. But because the builder used the wrong paint, it just took like 2 or 3 coats on every wall instead of like the 1 or 2 coats I thought it was going to take to cover up the builder grade paint. So it ended up that I had just enough paint to finish each of the rooms. So I think here in this shot, you can actually really see the difference in the color tone. So like it almost looks white or blue that I'm putting on, but it's really like a blue purpley gray. I don't know how else to describe it, but it's Passive by Sherwin-Williams, and I really, really love this color. It looks so bright and light in the sunlight, but then at night it has a more cool quality to it and looks a little bit more blue or purpley. It's just very, it's like a chameleon color. So I really, really enjoy this color. Anyways, all that to say that this room still needed to be painted because it was still in the builder grade paint. So I needed to go ahead and do that. We did manage to get the floors in here before we started storing stuff in here. We had finished the floors. That's basically the first thing we did when we moved in. We just moved in with concrete floors, and so we ripped all the, we just had them lay like vinyl. So very weird, but this is the thing, I guess, that you can't close without flooring. We just wanted them to leave it as concrete because we were going to come in and put our floors in right away, and we couldn't. So they did rolled linoleum, and the interior designer who worked with us on our house was really confused as to why we were doing like custom stuff and really high-end things, and then we wanted rolled linoleum. And I just laughed because the builder wanted, I don't know, $30,000 or something to put our particular floors in. And I was like, you guys are smoking crack or something, because we can do it for probably less than a third of that. And I was right. So it did take sweat equity. It took about probably, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks total to finish all the floors, because we were having to do it when Justin got home from work and nights and weekends, and I was painting at the same time. It was just this insane month of insanity. I don't know how else to describe what happened when we moved in. It was crazy. But I tell everybody we moved in and we tore everything out, and that's really not that far from the truth. That's about what happened. And a little bit more about our story is, as we moved in, and about 28 days later, so about 3 weeks later, we found mold in the house. And we had to go through mold remediation, and praise the Lord that we found the mold so quickly, because the builder had to pay for all the remediation. So not only was our builder really upset that they had to like go through structural engineering and things to fix a lot of the corners that they cut, but they were super upset later when we found the mold and they had to pay for remediation because it was like several tens of thousands of dollars to do mold remediation, and they had to foot the bill. So God is good all the time. We did have we had some health issues that happened immediately when we moved in, and I kind of chalked it up to just us being really stressed because we had to be out of our rental. There was like so many things that were just coming down to the wire, and I wasn't sure if we were going to manage to get it all together in the end. And we moved in, and immediately my son got really sick, and my sister who lives with us got really sick. And both me and my husband had like pretty intense sinus stuff happening, but we moved in November, and fall allergies in Florida is like October and November. So I kind of, like I said, I just chalked it up to allergies and being sick. Well, it turns out that my son and my sister are both allergic to the particular type of mold that was growing in the house. And so my son had like a full body allergic reaction to the mold, which started with hives, and I kind of thought that he had gotten into poison ivy. I didn't see any poison ivy on the property, but it's Florida, there's poison ivy everywhere. So I just figured he was out on the property and he probably got into some poison ivy, which, you know, happens. So I was treating him for poison ivy, but it was just not going away. So I took him to a dermatologist, and the dermatologist was like, this is not poison ivy, this is an allergic reaction to something environmental. And then my sister, who has asthma and some pretty intense mold allergies, just got really, really sick, and she went to the doctor, and the doctor's like, pretty sure this is a reaction to mold. And we're like, well, we just moved into a brand new house, there's no way there's mold. But we had the last rooms that we were finishing the floors in were the bathrooms. And we have 3 downstairs bathrooms. So those were the final rooms that we got to. And when we got to them and we pulled the linoleum up, the cabinets, when I took the kick plates off the cabinets, because you have to take the kick plates off to lay the flooring down, and then you put the kick plate back on top of the floor. Anyways, when I took the kick plates off, there was all kinds of mold behind the kick plates in the cabinets. And I guess this is super, super common in new builds, especially in the South, because they build the houses so fast and they don't take the time to lay down the 50-cent piece of plastic on the bottom of the cabinets, that they put the cabinets on wet concrete. And then because cabinets are just like sponges, they soak up as the concrete is curing. They soak up the liquid out of the concrete, and then you have a breeding ground for mold. So I guess this happens all the time, and typically new home buyers do not catch it for several years because it takes that long for the mold to for the mold to distort the cabinets bad enough that it pops the kick plates off, and people think that their kick plates have gone bad in their bathrooms or kitchens, and that's not what has happened. It's that the mold has finally grown far enough into the cabinetry that it has distorted the cabinet so the kick plate won't stay on anymore. So just a word to the wise, if you're buying a new build in the South, take your kick plates off your cabinets, especially if your cabinets are like MDF or particle board, and check, because I guarantee you will find mold behind them. It was so wild. I just, again, it's just those things that you don't know until you know. And we were so incredibly blessed that we caught it so fast, because it could have been a huge nightmare several years down the road. But the builder had to come in. They had to do full mold remediation. They had to do industrial HEPA filters in the house, and then they had to do a 4-foot cut on all of our drywall. They had to replace all our cabinetry, and they had to install it correctly. So like I'm so thankful for what we had to go through, because now it means that the home is safe, like going forward, right? Like if we end up having to sell, whoever buys this house can be assured that now it's done correctly. And we were also really blessed in that we were able to choose the companies that came in for remediation and for repairs. So I think the builder was really scared of us at a certain point in time. So we were able to basically work with our own subcontractors, and they had to the builder had to pay for everything. So it was a huge blessing. But anyways, all that to say that this was just the final room because it was the least important. Nobody was using it as a bedroom. Nobody was using it truly as an office. My husband's computer is upstairs and he does all the accounting and budgeting and things. And so this should just become, it was unimportant, but a couple of things happened this month. So if you're watching this, it's October 2023. We had a realtor and an appraiser come in and appraise the house and kind of walk the property and tell us, like, whether it would benefit us to sell or list or whatever. And then also we threw a huge Reformation Day party and we just needed the extra space. So it was kind of like the fire under my hind end to just finish this space. So we just pulled everything out. I ordered some like bookcases on Amazon. I was trying to find used bookcases on Facebook Marketplace, and honestly, I could not find anything that was less expensive than what was on Amazon and as in good of shape, if that makes sense. Like, people are crazy with their prices for what they're selling their used bookcases for on Facebook Marketplace. I'm like, I can buy it for way less on Amazon, which makes me crazy because I really don't love supporting Amazon and I really don't love buying new if I could repurpose something, but just didn't work out that way. So we ended up getting some bookcases off Amazon. My husband had this old trunk upstairs that somebody gave him full of, I don't remember what was in it, but anyways, I was able to repurpose a lot of stuff, and so I didn't have to buy the paint, didn't have to buy the baseboards. We already had all of that. We bought all of that before we even moved in. So we already had all of the things to finish the room. Basically, all I had to do was buy the bookcases. Everything else we already had. So that was nice. So what you'll see me doing in this video is cutting. I do not use painter's tape. I'm not a great painter. I mean, I'm sure I'm making a ton of mistakes, but I feel like using painter's tape is a waste of time, and it doesn't get me any better results than just being careful with the paintbrush. Like, and also I watched a bunch of, this is such a millennial thing, but I watched a bunch of YouTube videos on how to paint and how to like cut without using tape, and I just got really, I don't know, confident in doing it. And I painted our whole house, and interior wise, I did the whole interior with some help, but mostly I did it. And during our Reformation party this past weekend, one of the guys who's a professional painter complimented the paint job, and I was like, oh, good. I'm so happy you think that it's good, because I thought I was doing a terrible job, but it's good. It's fine. I didn't have to pay anybody to do it, and that's what counted. And there's something too about like making your space beautiful that is such a glorifying thing, right? Like, the space wasn't ugly necessarily, but it wasn't beautiful. And so there is something so cathartic and therapeutic about making a space beautiful, about bringing order to chaos. And I'm just so grateful that we had the resources and the means to be able to do that, and that I was finally able to just get that over and done with. So also you'll see here, I'm like going around the edges. You'll also probably see my son pop in and out from time to time. Best thing about having a helpful teenager, listen, if you haven't considered homeschooling, you should. You should definitely consider homeschooling. I love the relationship that we have, and I know I've talked about this in a previous video, but we have a great relationship, and I credit that to how much time we spend together. And it's out of like, necessity, because we homeschool, we're always together. And sometimes that can be annoying, if I'm being honest. But most of the time, it's such a pleasure to be around my teenager. He's so helpful. I asked for help because I was like, oh no, I forgot to take the faceplates off the light switches and the outlets, and he was like, oh, I got it. And he has a little tool bag in his closet, and he goes and grabs a screwdriver, and he comes in and he starts unscrewing all the face plates. And I like didn't even, I didn't have to hound him about it or anything. He just came in and did it. He's so much like his father like that. They're both so service oriented, and it's so helpful. I'm very, very thankful and blessed for that. Here, I don't know if this is something that anybody else does or if I'm just like lazy and a weirdo, but I wrap my paint tray in a garbage bag. And then when I'm done with the paint, I just throw the garbage bag away. Yeah, so it's just so I don't have to go wash the paint tray. Which this doesn't even always work, so I don't know why I still do it. It's kind of silly because most of the time I have to go wash the paint tray anyway because the bag has come off the thing and I gotta go clean out the tray anyhow. So I don't know why I keep doing this, but it's just I guess a habit that stuck with me. As I'm watching this and doing this voiceover, I am so shocked at like the difference between the two paint colors. Like, wow, yeah, I knew when we walked in that it was the wrong color. And you can just you can so see the difference now. And you'll see me like occasionally grabbing the wall with my hand, like dabbing the wall with my fingers. And it's because there's like, I don't know, paint boogers coming off the handle of the roller because I didn't clean it after the last time I used it. So this is entirely the consequences of my own actions. So I got to grab these little boogers off the paint so there's not like imperfections in the paint. And all Florida houses have like orange peeled texture walls. So annoying. I know it's there to hide like the imperfections in the walls. But it's just, it makes me crazy. It makes me crazy. It makes putting up wallpaper really difficult, let me tell you that. And then also it makes like when you'll see that I have like these patches on the walls where there was like something banged into the wall and put a hole there or something. It makes matching that texture too, if you have a repair, just an absolute nightmare. What I'll do is I'll get a can of orange peel texture. They have it in like a spray can at Home Depot. And you just have to play with the nozzle. The nozzle has like different spray settings for different types of textures, like light or medium or heavy. And I'll use a piece of cardboard and I'll spray the cardboard to try to figure out how I'm going to match the texture on the wall. And then I'll get that as best as I can. And then I'll spray over the patch. And then I'll take a tissue and I'll kind of dab at the texture with the tissue just to clean it up a bit, because the spray can texture will never match what the professionals are doing. And so I just like eyeball it. And because the patches are usually small, I can't tell the difference. And then if it's like real ugly, I'll just hang a piece of artwork or something on it because I'm like, I can't be bothered to sit there and try and match the texture all day long. So yeah. Anyways, this room, I wanted to, on the wall that I'm painting right now, I wanted to do built-in bookcases because I want this room to eventually be a library. So right now it's kind of an office-ish with all of our books and a little reading corner. And I'll have a video coming up after this where I go through like how we set the room up and all of that. But this is just kind of to show you the process of what it takes to essentially refinish an entire room. So just, this took so much time. I think I sped this video up 2 times. I think I probably should have sped it up even faster. But anyways, getting pretty close to the end here. So on this wall, eventually what I wanted to do was built-in bookcases. And I want the room, I think, to be emerald green. But because we're not entirely sure that we're staying here yet, and we don't know really when we're going to find out if we're staying, I just decided to go ahead and keep it all neutral. This is technically a 4th bedroom on the floor plan. So we don't need a 4th bedroom. So we are just using it as an office for right now. But if a realtor comes in, or if somebody comes in to buy and they need that fourth bedroom, I want it to look like a bedroom for them. So if they don't need it as a bedroom, well, great. But I also don't want to put a whole ton of time and effort into any more projects, even though it's kind of killing me a little bit on the inside not to finish the bajillion projects we have lined up. Just in case we do end up having to sell. So it's all in God's perfect timing. And I am just, I have this absolute supernatural peace about it. Life is super crazy right now. I am doing a ton of side jobs, and we're getting into the holiday season. Our church currently has an interim pastor, and he's just starting this weekend. So we haven't had a pastor since Easter, and we've been, well, my family's been pretty heavily investing in getting and helping the church keep running, essentially, without a pastor. And it's been difficult. It's been a very difficult season in life. But my family has seen, there's been so much growth in this difficult season. And I'm just wondering, like, is that true for you? Do you find that when you're going through the most difficult seasons in your life, is that when you see the most spiritual growth? Because I find that to be absolutely true for me. Whenever I'm in a very deep valley in life, that is absolutely when God shows up and just shows me his power and his majesty and his glory. And I am always just so in awe. I'm just so in awe of what God is doing, right? What God's doing when we're in that deep valley. And I think looking back on it, I'm so grateful for the times that we've had the trials and we've had the tribulations, because I wouldn't be who I am right now if it weren't for having to go through those things. And that is such a blessing. So I want to encourage you, if you're in a very rough season of life like we're in, then, keep going. Just do the next right thing. As Elizabeth Elliot says, just do the next right thing, because the next right thing is going to get you one step closer to the next right thing, right? And as you do more next right things, it's like your spiritual muscles, just like your physical muscles, get a little bit bigger, and you can flex a little bit harder. And not in your own strength, of course, in the strength of the Holy Spirit and the Lord. But if you just do the next right thing and you do it in faith and obedience to the Lord, he shows up in mighty, mighty ways. And sometimes it's just this, even though I'm in this really chaotic time in life, there is such supernatural peace surrounding me. And I can always tell when I'm getting off kilter, like my attitude will start to deteriorate. I'll just not be sleeping well. And I can tell that it's time to get back in the Word, because I'm using like my chaotic life circumstance to say, hey, I don't have time to do my Bible study, or I don't have time to pray. But then the Lord will be waking me up at like 1:30 in the morning when I desperately need the sleep, because I'm not getting a whole lot of sleep because my schedule is so crazy. And I will just know that I need to pray. Like, I'm not going back to sleep until I pray. And so I pray, and guess what? I end up falling back asleep. So like, there is such a sweetness in the chaos, because I just know that it's all supernaturally from the Lord, this peace that we've got, this hope that I have, despite the crazy circumstances, that it is all from God, and that, he's sovereign over all of it. And I'm 100% certain that whatever the future holds, God has got it, and I don't have to worry about it. Like, it doesn't stop me from having to do the day-to-day mundane stuff, like paint the ceiling and install the baseboards and things like that. I still have to do those things, but I have to do them in faithful obedience to the Lord. And I need to do them to the glory of the Lord. And sometimes that sounds so silly to say, like, you need to paint your walls to the glory of the Lord. But you do. You have to do it in faithful obedience without grumbling and complaining. So I just want to really encourage you that if you're in a stage of life where it feels like it would just be easier to be disobedient, it would just be easier to be grumbling and complaining about where the Lord has got you, like, stop and reflect and realize that the Lord is doing a work in you, and he's doing a work in your family, and it's for his glory and for your good that you are going through these things. And it's hard. It's so hard. And I don't want to minimize how hard the struggles can be, because like my struggles don't currently involve the loss of a child or a miscarriage or the loss of a parent or anything like that. My struggles are mostly because of our own sin, and they have to do with finances. But that's not really the point. The point is that the tribulations that the Lord has got you going through, they serve a purpose. That you're not here for no reason. That means your struggles are not here for no reason. It's either teaching you something or it's doing a work in the kingdom. And maybe you won't know what that work is on this side of heaven. And that's fine. It's hard, but it's fine, right? So just keep your chin up and keep doing the next right thing. And if the next right thing is baking a loaf of bread, then go bake a loaf of bread to the glory of the Lord. If the next right thing is changing the poopy diaper for the 11th time today and doing it with a smile instead of a sigh, then just go change the poopy diaper with a smile to the glory of the Lord, right? Like, if the next right thing is to pull the weeds because it needs to get done, because it hasn't been done in 6 months, because you've been busy with other things, and you have a moment and you're feeling some sort of way about the weeds, then just go pull the weeds to the glory of the Lord, right? Like, don't put off till tomorrow what you can do today to the glory of God. And I'm just, I'm preaching to myself here, because as I'm recording this, I'm sitting in a closet just filled with chaos. And I just want to encourage you, like, it can be done. Even if it feels overwhelming, it can absolutely be done. So here's kind of the finished version of the room. I'm just putting the baseboards, my husband put the baseboards in the night before I filmed this, and now I'm just going and filling all the nail holes with spackle, and then I'm going to go sand it and paint the baseboards and then caulk the baseboards. But I don't think I filmed any of that because it was really super boring. Not that the painting wasn't boring, but I just don't know. Maybe I was just in a hurry to get it done, but I don't have any video of that. So anyhow, I hope that this was edifying for you. I hope this was convicting for you. I hope that if you're struggling, that you know that the Lord is there for you and that I'm praying for you. I hope you'll pray for me. I really appreciate your comments. I appreciate the likes and the shares, definitely the watches. If you are not yet subscribed, hit that subscribe button, because I'm going to have some more content coming out, hopefully a video a week, but I'm not going to promise, because I'm not quite sure that I can keep up with that schedule with as crazy as life is right now. But yeah, so anyways, like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell. And again, thank you guys so much for all of your support. I really appreciate it with my little channel here, as I learn how to do YouTube and as I continue to try to just plant a flag for Christ right here on this platform out there in the interwebs. Well, you guys have a great day. Thank you so much again for joining me. I hope to see you again. Have Solo Deo Gloria. I just lost my whole train of thought. Solo Deo Gloria, and do it all to the glory of God. See you guys in the next one. Bye.